radio or its staff.
Good morning. Yeah. The switcheroo. If you're watching us live, we will a switcheroo on you. This is Attorney Clinton Barris, and you are live on Intex News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. I'm here with my co-host, just regular, not sweet, but regular Pete Edwards. Good morning, Pete. How you feeling today, man?
I was afraid somebody was going to holler that out when I made my council speech.
Oh man, listen, I was watching, man. I was watching, though. I like the political process. I think I less enjoy the outcome of politics, but I like the people involved. They're and we can come back to this later, but I just like seeing people engaged in the process, valuing or being heard, and I think the more we do that, that's really the strength of democracy.
We should be. That's an inherited a right, so to speak. I realized, and we're talking about the Tampa City Council had to make an interim appointment, and so 23 of us went down last Tuesday.
But back up. So you've jumped way,
Okay. All right.
way down the road, because the big part for I think our community, even particularly on a national level, is engagement in civics and how it happens. Because this doesn't happen that often. And people sometimes think the only way that I can never be involved in the political system is if I run for office, raise some money, and then, I get the most number of votes. And what we've seen over the last few years, let's take Obama, for example. He starts out with an unorthodox campaign where he raises, I think he starts out saying, give me $10. And that's what he starts his campaign, which was very controversial at the time, because historically we'd gotten people that ran with millions of dollars. That's one. At the same time, we also had a time when we saw a reemergence of the mega millionaires in politics. Rick Scott, I want to run for office. Bloomberg, I want to run for office. And the ultimate, I just want to run for office, Donald Trump, saying, hey, I just think, what the heck, why don't I do it? I'm not doing anything else. I'll run for office. So the lesson in I think the civics lesson is in how do we engage in politics on the candidate side is one, and in the community the other.
You know what, Clarence, we're on In Touch Radio News, and we're on Facebook and everything today on a beautiful
crisp day.
Crisp day. Still like fall. It'll be cooler tonight, maybe low 40s.
Well, what is that? It's got to be what, high 60s out there?
Yeah. Well, when Easter comes late,
yes,
that's what happens. But you're right about we have to find a way, particularly in the black community,
yes, to
engage our kids into learning civics. Now, there's two schools of thoughts about that. One, the college student, they can pick up on it. But my concern is that those of our kids in the neighborhoods who don't go to college or don't go to community college, how do we get them to understand?
I'll tell you one that, I'll tell you one that we missed.
Okay.
We missed teaching it in church, because we don't run our churches like a democracy. How about we don't teach democracy in our homes? Why? Because we don't run our homes like a democracy.
And you're right about the church.
No, we don't really
I learned it.
You think you think you really voting for that? Mm-hmm. But I would just say that we could do a better job of teaching civics by living civics.
There you go.
If we just lived it. And I know that may be a high threshold, a high bar. One, it takes, and I want to speak as, the parent side is, it requires engaging your children in discussions that have immediate and long-term effect. Mm-hmm. And we sometimes as parents. So for me, what we just saw happen in Tampa, I think, and across America, the reason we're talking about this, we have a national audience, is, politics, all politics start local. And what we
Absolutely.
just went through locally, it's unusual, but it's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. And if you don't know all the things most people just finally learned that the vice president is the one who certifies the final vote for the president.
Isn't that something?
Most people didn't know that. They thought I'd go down to the ballot box, and they thought maybe Fox or CNN did it when they declared the winner. But it's actually the vice president.
And a lot of people still think it's the popular vote, but that's not true.
No, it is, that's another whole
But you know
animal.
what, Clint? Speaking of the civics, I appreciate the civics lesson that I learned this week
In that process.
in the process with the confirmation of Catania
Yes.
Jackson Brown, Catania Brown Jackson.
Yes. Yeah. But you want to get ahead of me so bad.
Well, no, I just want to
Man,
say,
you want
No,
to
but I just-
you want to
that's
do
fine.
you want to do me a couple.
but that's the kind of stuff that we, seriously speaking, we urge our audience, teach civics
Live it.
younger and younger. I started picking up on that when they first told me that, hey, y'all want to make a dime putting election flyers on all the cars outside of church.
Right.
Oh hell, man!
So let's
Dime,
let's
so
talk
we'll see.
about
All right, let's get into our
let's
thing.
paint the picture what happened in the city of Tampa, and for you snoots up in St. Louis or Chicago or wherever you at, you want to thumb your nose at us. You want to come go to our beaches and attend our amusement parks, but you want to treat us like we're country bumpkins down here because we have a normal community. So we had a city councilman who was accused of certain actions, and he decided, you know what? I got some other stuff I want to go do. I thought I was helping the community and working. I'm not going to be a political pawn. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going home. Y'all can have this. So Dingfelder resigned.
Right.
He said, y'all can have this. Listen, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to do what I can do. And if I'm not wanted here, guess what? I got some other stuff to go do. You all can have this. He resigns. And under the city of Tampa's charter, city councilmen, the remaining 6, get to replace that they need to vote on who replaces that person, and they will finish out his term, correct, Pete? And then they run. Is that how it goes?
Well, yeah. In the past, when they've done that in the past,
A special election?
the requirement was that, hey, we want to put somebody in the interim seat, but hey, we don't really want you to run. This time they didn't even mention that at all. In fact,
now explain that to me. What would be the logic behind that?
well, here's the thing. When I spoke Tuesdays, one of the candidates, that was my 4th time. 3rd time seeking a city council vote.
Okay.
First time, of course, when they indicted Perry Harvey and we all had to run.
Man, that's historical. That was like 86, 84?
Okay, and I got the Tribunes.
I was just trying to let you know I know my city history.
Well, I got all the endorsements.
Okay.
Every black newspaper, Hispanic newspaper, 2 major white newspapers. But the runoff was between Les Miller and, of course, Nadine Smith. But also in that race was Frank Riddick. So
Didn't Les Miller get that seat?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. And after the runoff, he beat.
And full
Nadine
disclosure, I helped work on that process with him back. I was a college student at the time.
Right. But you know what I enjoyed about it? My kids were young, and they got a chance to see the political process, civics, how you can be involved and all. So we moved fast forward to this year. After Dingfelder resigned, they basically came out and says, all of a sudden, we need a woman on the council. Now, what they didn't say this time was that we prefer somebody who won't run.
Is that reverse sexism, though?
Well, it's a lot of issues.
I
about
just don't
that,
like
okay?
characteristic decision
But they
making.
said that up
Give
front.
me a tall person. Can we have a one-legged, whatever?
Well, here's their logic was that a woman could balance the thing out with civility and all like that.
Civility.
But yeah,
They
all
won't.
that
They
time.
won't get up there and act like men.
But
so
you know
much.
what the thing about it? Another dangerous part of that was we had 2 black males, former city councilman, former county commissioner, all of that, Tom Scott and myself. We had 8 African American women.
Yes. Hey, listen now, and I was so proud of those ladies.
I thought
I
they
mean,
all had something brought to the table.
Hey man, that
But
was some
what I
powerful,
didn't like
some powerful
was
voices.
the spin-off a part of that was afterwards. They said, "Black women, we're taking over." So for me, as a man involved, no, I'm serious. As a black man involved,
Yeah.
And I told y'all on this show a while back that in the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County,
The
the
views
chance of
expressed by the co-host of
yeah,
this
yeah,
show
absolutely my views.
are not
Our
the
sisters
views of the
have
station.
sent a message
Hey,
that black men we're not going
listen,
to. And
yeah.
let me tell you what else they did. So before I
Uh-huh.
finish, not only did they send a message that hey, we're going the African American woman's point of view, all the way to get elected and all like that. When they acknowledge the number of African Americans applied for the position, they acknowledge all women and didn't even acknowledge the two brothers, Tom Scott. Now see from a hood point of view.
What you and Tom gonna do about that? What you two hood brothers?
From a hood point of view,
you know,
I felt that if you're gonna project the total amount of
you don't
black
sound like
people,
that. Don't sound like a hood
how you
brother.
leave us out?
I want to know what you hood brothers gonna do about this.
Well, I tell you what I'm gonna do. I don't. If I think I'm qualified for a position, I'm gonna apply. I tell other people if you think you qualified,
yes,
apply. You have a right to do that. Present your case. Now, what's interesting is that all of the presentations, whether you agree with them on every issue or not, they were beautiful. Some presentations, I was very surprised. Even when the first round of voting, I was surprised.
So let me back up though, because you just you just taking the street. So cause we got to give people the civics lesson here.
Right.
So Dean felt the seats open. So City Council now says, hey, anyone can the seats open, so anyone can apply for the particular seat that right. And so now my question I want to find out is, because for those people out there, all the people who look like, how do I get involved in politics, whatnot, so what was the process to get your name on the list for consideration?
They have a 2-page application, basically.
What are the requirements, though?
The requirements, you have to live in the city.
In the district, okay.
Well, and this was a citywide seat, but technically, in an interim seat, anybody within the city of Tampa can apply for the interim seat.
Okay.
If it's under 15 months, the council appoints. If it's more than 15 months left in the term, you have to run. That's what happened.
They have a special election.
Special election. That's what happened the first time. Now, part of that, they give you an application process. And on the application process, it actually asks you, have you ever been convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor?
So don't ask you've been charged. It asks you've been convicted.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's a little outdated, because you can't say you want to return people. If you've been convicted of a misdemeanor, what does that have to do with you running for office?
All right. So my understanding is when you ask people about their criminal history, so it's a character question, less of a the question really is about character.
Well, it's a trap. It's a trap question.
No. Hold on for a minute, because when you're asking about, because the perception is in our society, our community, we have laws, rules that you're expected to follow, XYZ, and if you're a criminal, the presumption is you've chosen not to follow those rules, laws, and it's a question of your character, not qualifications. And that's really what they.
Well, yeah. And so we did that, and we had to turn it in to the city clerk. So then,
any supporting documents?
No, you can attach your resume. A lot of people attach their resume.
Did you? But if I is it a sworn document that you submit, or is it an affidavit, or what is it?
You get it notarized that the application that you fill out is correct.
Okay, good. So
that your signature's on it.
Perfect. All right, now go ahead.
So we get it they turn them into the clerk's office by a certain deadline.
Hold on for a minute. Are you aware of any one application that was thrown out though?
2 of them. These 2 people had applied, did not live in the city limits.
Okay, there we go. Got it. Okay, so there's a vetting. So application in, and then they set a date to say we're gonna have all y'all come down
or come by Zoom
and tell us why you should be the person.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Now I want people to understand now. That's what it looks like on the surface.
Well, what was it really?
Yeah, well, most of the times, my experience has been, and even observing other type of appointments, the council already knows who they're going to vote for before the public meeting.
All right, stop for a minute. You mean the council or the council people?
The council people,
Individually, they have favorites.
They already know who they're going to vote for.
And we'll assume that they've been lobbied or connected to some of the people who are applying.
Yeah, because they have a built-in. They in Tampa and African Americans across the country. You've probably seen this even when in cities.
All right,
where
hold on
white
for a minute.
people run.
Hold that thought, Pete. Hold your songs. You're gonna be singing and your mea culpa. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna get into the meter. Cause I want to, and peel back some layers of what happened to Pete down at City Council. Cause I was proud of you, Pete. Intex News Radio, reality radio. Everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Hello, Tampa Bay. This is Ainsley Doe with Florida Realty Unlimited. As a broker with 15 years experience and a veteran of the Navy, I do understand your needs. Real estate prices are up. So if you're thinking of selling your home, call me for a free market analysis. If you're planning to buy a home, please call me for a free buyer's consultation. For more information, call Ainsley Doe at 813-546-1954. Once again, the number is 813-546-1954. Or check my ad out in the In Touch You.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong, and I'm so proud to say I have my very first sponsor for Tampa Bay politics. His name is Sam Cohen of Attorneys First. So if you are an attorney, please give him the opportunity to quote you for errors and omissions insurance. His number is 727-799-4321. That's 727-799-4321.
All right, everybody. Good morning. A beautiful brothers. Get out of
I
here.
got up early this morning. Pete got out there cutting the grass.
Yeah, get out of your man cave. You know what I'm saying? And just
Yeah,
do something for the children.
And hopefully around the country, wherever you're at, listen to our station, your weather is picking up. And, we decided to do a little civics lesson because I'm just so proud of my co-host, Pete Edwards, who's been involved in our community. I'm talking he's a staple for decades he has. And we had a recent city council seat open up. And Pete did what I won't do. He jumped off the sideline, put both feet in the water, got mud all over himself, and washed himself back off, and now he's back in the seat. So he went through the process. So we want to educate people a little bit, Pete, though, about the power of politics. We always talk about these people when they're in places. It's where we get the inside piece and something unusual like what you went through, showing how people get this. So we took our break. And for those out there listening, let me give you the phone numbers, 813-444-9588. Of course, we're on Facebook,
Absolutely.
YouTube, and all the other social media platforms. And we have DJ CEO behind the board this morning. He has recovered from his adventure at the New Edition concert. If you could have seen him and the lovely Miss Tampa Bay Tammy doing it up, man. I mean, they partied so hard. I was wondering who was gonna make it through the night, New Edition or the Johnsons, and clearly both of them made it through the night. So,
well, of course, I was left outside the concert.
Man, you could have got in. Listen, we had a seat for you, Pete. All you need is get in the building, and we could have took it from there, man. You could have got by security, man. You would have, but the whole city showed up for that New Edition concert. It was a lot of fun. I want to thank DJ CEO Daryl and Tam for coming out, and we had a great time. But okay, so let's get back to this civics lesson a little bit, Pete. So now we've got you are now at a time we're down there bringing everybody in. How much time did you get
Now,
to talk?
previously, they used to give you 3 minutes. Then this time they decided to give everybody 2 minutes.
Stop right there. Give me the backdrop though, because it's got to be some backroom stuff going on.
Well, the first thing, and we need to. This is why we need to talk about some things like that. This time around, because of all the issues that they were going through, they publicly said we need to take a look at a woman. So what that did.
You mean city council said
City council said that.
Kind of like Joe Biden said about Ms. Jackson.
Now, they could have, if they said, because a lot of people, black and white, was ticked off, said, well, hey, in fact, the white guy called in, 2 people called in during the public speaking part and on and say, why would you all come out and say, hey, we're going to put a woman on the board? Because
Did they say we're going to put a woman, and they say, listen, it would be a good thing we had a woman.
Right. So what happened? You got what about the other 8 men that came down anyway?
How is that different than what Joe Biden did with Ms. Jackson?
In one way,
You're from a Republican's point of view, because I know that you all are you try to be sexless, colorless.
Well, here's the thing: when you talk about local politics, because of nonpartisan seats, you've had people on city council that were more Republican in their thought process, although they may be labeled as a Democrat for voting purposes. But in city council, you don't
nonpartisan.
It's just like the school board, but because the school board the last 2 terms have had Republican women on the board, got one on there now. Mm-hmm. So you got to look past that because people cross vote all the time.
All right, so you got a couple guys and a bunch of ladies down at city council. The 2 minutes, and I want because how do they make a decision in 2 minutes listening to someone?
Well, what they do, generally, and remember, this is my Tuesday represented my 7th time trying to get an appointment through city council.
Okay.
On either the downtown CRA or animal council.
Okay.
And it's all most of the time pre-script. For an example, I was asked, along with some other African Americans, to apply for the downtown CRA.
And that's community revitalization agency. And these kind of agencies, they exist in all communities.
Right.
That city councils control.
So they didn't have one. They didn't have African American. I was encouraged by then Councilman Frank Reddick and someone else to apply. I was qualified. I lived downtown. My record speaks for itself.
Yes.
All right. So I applied. Now, before we got in, and it was about 11 people applied, white, black, and all. But how about this? Before the vote that morning, our presentation, the people who was behind this woman developer, because her family was a big developer downtown and all, they came out of the council chambers high-fiving and everything like that before we even gave our presentation. And then I had a reporter tell me, and somebody else, a white guy and his supporters, say, hey, they're going to give that to so-and-so, his daughter, this white lady. She got it. So we go through the process, and sure enough,
that's who gets it.
Yeah,
okay.
Because they wanted the downtown partnership and the developers. The city council, they don't really want independent thinkers on that board.
Who? Right. Okay. So let's leave that where. So now, I'm trying to think about how valid is a 2 minute. Was it 2 minutes because there were so many people?
No, that was the only thing on the agenda. So they could have. We started at 9. I think the vote took place about 11:15. So they could have. Some asked could they extend it, but they said, okay, well maybe we'll let them go 15 seconds over the clock chime that comes in and say you're 2 minutes up. But they got your background, the application, and then if you want to put a resume and all that behind it. Some people, and I applaud Connie Burton because she had a diverse group of people that supported her. They had a stack of emails and all. But look, can I be honest with you? A black woman like Connie Burton, the council will never appoint her to anything. First of all, she does her homework and she calls them out when need to. So they're not going to do that. They consider her, even though she had Jay Passmore and a lot of progressives supporting her and all, they consider her an angry black woman. So those folks, what looks liberal is not always liberal, okay? Especially when it comes to black people. So they weren't going to vote for her. but I'm proud of her because she had a cross section of people
Right.
that supported her.
Right.
All right, so we do the presentation, but 9 out of 10 times already, they have who they want
A favorite.
made up. Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example.
Hold on for a minute. Wouldn't that be expected, though, because you're bringing the people coming and applying for that position mostly are well-known commodities in the community. You need to have a significant resume developed of service, and wouldn't those people be known by the city council
To some
members?
extent, but remember, what I found out over the years, and I've been tracking city council since 1974, 75. What I found out is that a lot of times the council people are thinking about their next election.
Politics. Let me say this. So politicians think about politics
Well,
and their political lives.
Well, the other thing too, we had 2 council people that in the black community assumed that they so liberal and they soul brothers number 2. Okay.
Who's soul brother number 3 though?
Yeah. All right. They
And
have.
who is? Oh, wait, hold on. Let's do some here. Who is? I know it's soul brother number 1. And who's soul brother number 2? I mean, that's been a debate. But anyway, I want to get the 3.
I
Anyway.
mean, but so we fall for that fake premise. You know, they show up.
Yeah.
Candy Loewy's events and all that kind of stuff, and they may heck, we've even seen them come in to In Touch Radio News. But what happens is, let's say for an example, they come in and they want free radio time, but they spend all the advertising money
Somewhere else.
white media.
No, yeah,
See,
we
don't
right,
tolerate that.
right,
But
right.
I'm being honest.
Yeah. Okay. So let me think. So I got an application, and I've got this person speaking for 2 minutes.
By
What
alphabetical
other
order.
information if I'm a city council member, do I have to go on to
Well,
make this choice?
what happened? Connie encouraged all her people to call city council. A lot of people did.
Lobbying.
This time, I choose not to do that, and I tell you why. I had knowledge of how the vote was going to go down, and then on top of that, selective council members leaked their favorites to the news media. And here's a good example.
Okay.
They had this lady, well known in the community, white lady, Julie Jenkins. Well known, she's ran for council before. She's done fundraisers for St. Peter Clay with a whole bit. I thought that she would be one person that would get at least 2 votes. Well, when it came down, what happened right before the vote, when people calling in with the public comments,
Right.
we had a person call in from a strong neighborhood association. I'm thinking he's going to call in and support Julie. He supported the eventual winner, and when Julie heard his voice and he said who he was supporting, I looked back at her heart was broken. But politics is a vicious business.
So ultimately, they make a vote for someone, and so they have round of votes. And I think the
First
first
round,
now
it was a tie.
2 top candidates: Meredith Freeman, lawyer in Tampa, black African American female lawyer, and this other woman in the community, Lynn.
Supposedly,
Well, did that
ACLU.
surprise you that those 2 got the most? Those that ended up being at the top of the list.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
It wasn't a surprise because Lynn Hertek was mentioned as one of them.
Okay.
Meredith Freeman was mentioned as one, the black woman lawyer, and Julie Jenkins. So I wasn't surprised on that.
Okay.
And so, but then the way it came out. See, when you sit in those meetings, the council, a lot of the council members, because they're so full of it, they tip their hand by their body
Okay.
movements.
So
and their eye
30
contact.
seconds, Pete. How can somebody in their own community, when these votes are happening, impact what the city council members
All right,
do?
all I've
We got
gotta-
30 seconds.
All right,
again.
all I've got to run next year. and
Make them, let them know, but you got to let them know now, though.
Yeah.
You got to tell them now, I'm going to remember you next year if you don't do X.
If we got one guy that claimed he's soul brother, he's fake.
Uh-oh.
See, I don't care because I'm going to
Yeah.
apply whether I get to vote or not to keep him honest.
Right.
But it's a civic lesson. Every time you see somebody, an elected official,
Right.
claim I got you, bro, and all like that,
Yes.
and switch out, leave
Yeah.
him alone.
The day of civics lessons will continue because when we come back, we're going to talk about this civics lesson up in the Senate with that vote, historic vote. Jackson on the U.S. Supreme Court. This is In Touch News Radio. We'll be right back after this break.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
You've been injured. You deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Parrish from the law office of Clinton Parrish. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Parrish, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at ParrishLawOffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Parrish, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Hi, this is Angela Birdsong with Tampa Bay Politics. And not only can you catch us on InTouchNews.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m., we now have a website at TampaBayPoliticsPodcast.com. We are on Apple, Google, Spotify, and Stitcher, which you can log in at any time and listen to Tampa Bay Politics.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
All right, that was just a tease. Welcome back to Intech News Radio. Reality Radio, everybody can be a star. That's just a teaser, Pete. Because a real civic lesson happened in the Senate, Pete.
Yes.
Now, let me just back up. For everybody, I don't know if we can pull the tape right now, DJ CEO, and replay it. But there were some predictions made about what was going to happen in the Supreme Court. And I kept trying to figure out in my head what Democrat could possibly not vote for her and then go back to their district and think they're going to win. And Pete, you know, if you, ladies and gentlemen, I want to cede the floor to Pete. He wants to make some public comment.
Well,
the floor is yours.
First of all, I didn't think she was going to get the vote.
Let's back up. Tell me why you didn't think she would get. What Democrats could vote for?
I actually thought either Kristen Sinema from Arizona,
okay,
who's running for re-election, considered a feisty Democrat conservative, and I really wasn't sure that Joe Manchin would come out and vote for her.
Okay, now what in her background or credentials you think would have been the thing that they would say, listen, she's not qualified to be on the Supreme Court?
Well, it was never about a qualification. It's about the next election.
Okay.
Okay, Sinema is going to be she may not even get out the Democratic primary, but she like to brush up her conservative big business credentials and all like that. Joe Manchin, he could have voted against her and it wouldn't have been no big deal because he's.
So why would he vote against her if it doesn't matter? His consistency is solid.
If he wants to reinforce his conservative support.
But why does he need to? What would he need to do that for?
Well, sometimes if you vote for an example, I'll give you another example.
Okay.
Lisa Murkowski voted for her. If you remember the last time that senator ran, she didn't come out of the primary.
Yeah, that Murkowski is not the same as Joe Manchin.
Right, but I'm just saying when you talk about the politics of it.
Okay.
Because remember, Murkowski, the last time she ran, she had to win as an independent. So to
right.
speak, okay?
Yes.
So she's up for election. Again. But nevertheless, when Manchin came out, he forced, I think, somebody like Kristen Sinema to get her off the fence because she was the last one that actually came out. She was going to support Katanya Jackson Brown. But I also told you that on the Republican side, I only saw maybe 2 votes. That would have been Susan Collins and, of course, Mitch Romney.
Right.
All right. But so I was wrong about the vote outcome, but I was right about the black Senator Tim Scott voting against her.
Okay, listen. So you got let me see if I think this is right. you think that you correctly predicted what Uncle Tim would do.
Mm-hmm.
But we know what they gonna get that. You don't get no points for that one, man. That's like me saying, "Listen, I know what's going to happen tomorrow. The sun's gonna come up." I mean,
remember this: one of the esteemed black civil rights lawyer, U.A. Clemens, out of Alabama, was appointed a federal judge. Okay. Now he's in senior status. No, he retired. He came out and said, "Hey, Katanya Jackson Brown is not a good judge that's going to evaluate the claims of people whose civil rights one way or another."
Let's hold right. Let's hold right there. And I'm always cautious about other people predicting what someone in a judicial because let me say this: I think everybody's going to be surprised maybe at how flexible or how varied some of her rulings. If you go back in her history, depending on the position she's in, very varied. She may not just be, hard line left A. She may be closer to a John Roberts than we probably realize.
Well,
and I'm okay with that.
When you look at it, she's actually going to sit right in the middle between Thurgood Marshall and Clarence Thomas. If you go back,
whoa, time out. That was that's a
decision. I'm telling you, you brought it up.
Hold on, it's not like they sat next to each other. They don't. I mean, they're like in a.
What I'm saying in the thought process.
Thurgood Marshall was committed to outcome. Clarence Thomas is about process and tradition and what's he's more trying to be a constitutionalist. Thurgood Marshall, listen, they wrote that document. But there are a lot of things we need to fix in our world that document didn't even anticipate would be in existence.
But that's why I say she's going to be in the middle. Because everybody was surprised when U.A. Clemens came out and said, "Hey, this is the wrong first black female judge." He was in favor of Michelle Childs. Hopefully. And what we ought to look at from a civics point of view,
right?
What's going to happen to her? She's up for the Circuit Court of Appeals in D.C. They nominated her for that. So let's see if Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott and all of them going to vote.
He won't vote, but guess what, though, Pete? We don't need their vote.
Well, we're lucky.
And we don't care about their vote.
Well, we're lucky we were able to get this lady in.
We weren't lucky. Listen, here's what it is.
You had a plane delay on one.
Elections have consequences. We won the election. We have control of the Senate. That's not luck.
But you had 50,
luck is my lottery numbers. That's what luck is. That's
I
don't control.
50 vote.
That was good. Yeah, right. So now let's talk about. But what does this mean though going forward though?
Well, two things. It should, on paper, you would think that it would inspire the black community to really start lining up and voting and preparing for all the obstacles that's going to keep them from voting, whether it's in Dallas, Texas, or whatever. You would think that we would do that, and we need to line up every election cycle as if we're voting for Obama
but
the
you
first
think
time.
Her appointment has that kind of momentum or impetus behind it?
I would like to think so, but I don't think it's going to come to fruition because a lot of the black community that votes, they vote for like a Hollywood moment.
So I'm sitting on the right hand. Since I'm in the right seat, I'm going to pretend I'm you for a minute and give some predictions. My first prediction is once Biden picked his pick, we presume the fix was in, and this thing was a foregone conclusion. It has now happened. I don't think it has any impetus going forward. In fact, it may be less concerning to people because that she's there. And further, because she doesn't impact the majority of votes coming from the Supreme Court, I don't think much changes.
But I'm saying if we're teaching civics to our kids and others who are reluctant to vote off season and all of that kind of stuff. I'm reading an article in the Miami Herald, which she was from she's from Miami. And there's an implication in there that will young people see this as an inspiration to vote during off-year elections or even register to vote. I look at what the Florida Restoration Coalition is doing, paying off people fines and all. All you gotta do is let them know what you got going. Now here's the point.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Yeah.
They're paying off the brothers and sisters fine. But when you look at the percentage who have a chance to now vote and register to vote, they're not doing it.
You know why? Listen, it is really, and I don't want to get on my people who've been involved in committed felonies and things. I know that everybody has their walk in life, and you just have to go down your walk in life. But helping people is a very, very dicey business. The whole idea of you teach someone to fish. You let them feed themselves for life. I can give you a meal. I fed you for the day. Which is the most? Where do we put our energy? And I would agree that maybe you help people pay off fines, but maybe and people may be so disenchanted. Democracy is a harsh.
Some people can't afford to pay off their fines.
But democracy is a harsh governing system. It's hard to understand it. It's manipulative. It's confusing. I would say it's disingenuous. It's hypocritical. I've been reading a lot of information dealt with the American Revolution, the Civil War, and the view of American slavery at the time with other countries. And there were countries that didn't want to help during the American Revolution because America had slavery.
All right, let me give you an example. With Judge ascending to the bench.
Justice. Let's get it right.
If I control
Justice
the
Jackson.
Democratic fundraising apparatus and touch every black newspaper, independent or whatever, in the country, I would go right out and spend money and put a half a page and connect with those who didn't think it was coming, those who young people are reluctant to vote no, and say, okay, this is why you should go Democratic vote, because look what we did. We kept the promise and all. So they got money. I spent a full page
right now.
I
would have been celebrating. I would have threw a party. You could have simulcast. There's so many things you could have done. Listen, I'm gonna tell people about something. And Pete, you could have. This just happened. They had, what was it called, the Million Truck Rally or something up in D.C. about last month.
Now they went to California after that.
And they drove around for a month up there on other people's money. But it really was a rally. It really was rallying issues. And then they said, go back home where you were and keep rallying.
We can't wait till the last minute to rally. We can't do that. Circumstances.
Well, I agree with seizing the moments as they are. We have to be more forthright in this. But I just think that this was a historic moment. I like to see that. I'm telling you, Biden is much more savvy politically than people want to give him credit for. I know that on the Republican side, people want to focus on stumbles and bumbles, but he's the Afghan withdrawal. We lost a few troops. That was a smear. What he's done with Ukraine and now her getting through the Senate the way that she did shows his ability and to pull over some bipartisan votes. Right at the last minute to get this thing over the hurdle, I think really speaks to his strength in Washington.
Like I say, when you're talking about people under 40, that inspire them to stay on top of everything and vote, I'm going to look at major black newspapers across the country and see if any of the Democratic fundraising apparatus has spent money.
Yeah, they won't. If you were running a political campaign, that would get you fired. You know why? Young people don't read the newspaper.
Well, you go on Instagram, radio.
Now that's different. Now I would absolutely have a social media campaign going. I'd have some. I'd get Kim Kardashian to give us a quote. I go find Chris Rock if he's take his ice off his jaw. Tell us what he thinks. I would make it a relevant current events issue, in pop culture. That's where it needs to get pop culture. That's where it needs to get pop culture.
For an example, this concert y'all went to.
One thing we didn't have, no political statements. It was just music.
Oh, I understand that, but on the outside, where you could have the hotels and people walking from the parking lots and walking up to the concert.
DJC, he wouldn't have seen that. You know why? You wouldn't have saw. You know why? He went in the private suite entrance.
But I mean, he
wouldn't have saw those people.
I'm talking about social
Man was on the elevator.
networking.
DJC, he was on the elevator by himself with an attendant.
All right,
escorting him to his suite.
And then, well, I tell you what, I'm gonna see what happens at the next concert.
Hey man, get some barbecue up in there, man. The In Touch News Radio. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
You've been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is Attorney Clinton Paris from the Law Office of Clinton Paris. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, Attorney Clinton Paris, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parislawoffice.com. At the Law Office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
We're back live on In Touch News Radio. Gravity is about to be a start. Listen, if you want to call in, we got the technical stuff worked out. The call-in number is 813-444-9588. 813-444-9588. Pete, okay, we got just a few minutes left, and listen, I think Joe Biden's got a little momentum going. I think Joe's got some momentum. I think people are underestimating his effectiveness. You know, they want to focus on the bump. You know, he's stabilized that situation in Ukraine. They're gonna declare victory over Russia, and that no need to fear Russia. They tanks don't work. You know, on their communication, they can't. Their soldiers don't want to fight. In a minute, he's got her through the Supreme Court. He's gotten the border out of the media. Gas prices have dropped a little bit. I saw $3.98 this morning on my way in.
It's going. Yeah,
it's dropping down. Now interest rates have bumped up a little bit. They bumped up a little bit, and I don't know. There's some dire predictions about the economy, but how are Republicans feeling about Biden's recent, momentum that he is building going towards these midterm elections?
When you're looking at Build Back America, most Republicans are saying, hey, like most Democrats, even when Republicans are in control, if they can bring some bacon back home to their community, they take the partisan politics out of it, and they just say, hey, I'm so proud that the federal government has allocated so much for the deep port dredging in Savannah, Georgia, for an example.
Yes, you're right. Right, yes.
It's no different than in the Florida legislature. The governor is getting ready to review the budget. He has a lot of veto power in there to cut a lot of money out, which he did before. But I can assure you, whether you're black or white, Democrat or Republican, the local legislator is going to come back if his project survives the budget cut, and say, look, y'all should reelect me. This is what I brought back from Tallahassee to benefit our community. Now, what they won't say on each side, Republican or Democrat, particularly the Democrat side, they will never say, I got this through thanks to a coalition of Democrats and my Republican friends, because the Republicans control the flow of what gets in the budget and all like that.
And they have for like almost 2 decades now.
Right. So they mislead people. What I don't like about candidates, black or white, you raise all that hell about this and that, and then time you come home, you say, "Hey, I got $1 million for the College Hill Library," or whatever the case may be, and then you give the impression that you got that through raising hell, or you got it through on your power alone.
You got it through because Republicans helped out.
A perfect example of it.
Okay.
People got mad at a wonderful lady, Betty Reed.
And you're talking about a local Tampa, state of Florida. She was a state representative locally from Hillsborough County.
She came and she says, "Hey, on a public broadcast, I requested and got a meeting with Governor Rick Scott because we needed $100,000 for something."
Okay.
I went to him and asked him, "This is why I needed the whole bit." Now, people got mad at her because she said she went and asked him. But guess what? He assured her it'd be in the budget. It was in the budget. The budget passed with her money in there. But people say, why would you go to a Republican governor?
Because
Hello?
You have to.
They run, you have to.
Yeah.
So when I see particular long-time black legislative candidates, legislators, they act like they got it all by themselves. No. One thing I appreciate about now Congressman Al Lawson.
Okay.
Al getting stuff through with FAMU and a lot of other issues in that panhandle.
Mm-hmm.
He played the game, and he didn't hide the fact that he had help from his Republican colleagues. So while they didn't agree with him on everything, they respected him enough to, hey, boom, boom, boom. So that's when they wanted to put all that money in, wrap around Doak Campbell Stadium, making an education building.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Al Lawson said, well, hey, we need a new gym at FAMU, but we're going to make classrooms around that too.
Yes.
And that's how they got the money through.
Exactly.
So we should be honest. And I want DJ to know this too. You can't, even though people, the grassroots people appreciate you because you call it like it is, the people who you don't run with that may be of a high black society or whatever, they will cut your throat because they're afraid that you may call it like you see it and how it's documented against them, and they don't like that. So that's where power and lust.
But let me tell you, are you holding Democrats to a different standard though?
I hold everybody the same standard.
Because I was about to say though,
Everybody.
we're in a hyper partisan environment. And for politicians, and in all organizations, the first rule is survival. And I think right now, partisanship is about survival. Bipartisanship is risky. And I mean, really, listen, Mitt Romney's in a tough spot.
But he's going to win re-election.
Well, he may not win his primary, though.
Well,
He's going to fight. They're going to try to primary him.
Murkowski. She proved that if you write and you got a balanced approach to things, everybody's not going to agree with you all the time. But if you get the job done and you straight up frank and forward with it,
right,
get the job done. I'll tell you another good example. The late black Senator Edward Brooke out of Massachusetts.
Okay.
You know he was a Republican, right?
Yes.
Okay. He was able to, and he was considered a Northeast Republican, which is different from a Southern Republican. But if you look at his record of accomplishment, getting bills through and funding through and all like that, he was a master at that. Because a lot of people initially thought Ed Brooke was going to be of the same nature as Adam Clayton Powell when he got Powell. See, Powell utilized for everybody in his community when he was in power. What killed Powell was he exposed himself. He helped his enemies expose him as a player and all that kind of stuff, which was his downfall was led by all people, Sam Gibbons from Hillsborough County. So I'm a history and weeds type of guy. So that's why I call it like I see it. And we got some races that I'm telling the local black community, like they've done in other communities, that are serious about strengthening our community and bringing up new thinking and new leadership.
Okay, I'm gonna let me touch on that a little bit, because There's been a lot of backlash locally going back to this issue with city councilmen strengthening the community.
Continues back.
Was there an opportunity lost by not putting an African American female on city council in fighting to make that happen?
All right, let me can I DJ? I'm the councilman that's in trouble. Okay. A lot of white folks in some parts of the black community want me to step down. Had I been there, the second round of voting, they had to vote for the second round because the vote was 2-2. I might have not liked the idea because in my mind I thought the mayor was pushing this lady, and I got a conflict with the mayor.
And I thought, and that seemed to be out of line.
Well,
that the mayor was endorsing somebody.
Well, all of them
and then you
endorse
lose
each other all the time. But here's the thing.
But think about this.
Supposedly,
City
endorse it.
council is not like the mayor's puppet. They actually,
Well,
there's a power struggle there.
Well,
So why would city council put someone on city council who the mayor wants on city
here's
council?
the thing.
That
It's
seemed to be
not
the death
It's
knell.
not the first time that it has happened. It happens all the time on a lot of different appointments. But here's the thing, Darryl, what I'm talking about. I'm on the board as an in-battle councilman.
Correct.
This sister, clearly qualified. No different than Catania Jackson Brown.
Yes.
Clearly, I mean, credentials, board satisfied.
Outstanding.
Okay. Now, she's an independent thinker.
Yes.
Maybe she hadn't been into a lot of the deep neighborhood area. But you know what? I know a whole lot of elected black officials that supposedly care about the deep neighborhood. They don't come around to
But they don't come around until they want to run for office, though.
When
Yes.
the vote was 2-2,
Yes.
the second round, I would have voted for Meredith, notwithstanding that I may be pissed off with the mayor or she don't like me and that ongoing thing. All right? But here's what that tie vote would have forced. Two people that voted for Lynn Hurtek also claim that they're close to the black community.
They want to be mayor.
The Hood brothers.
Yeah,
They want to be mayor.
They want to be mayor.
All right. And then one of them that voted for Hurtek felt that the mayor's trying to move him out too. So the second round, I would have voted because one councilman would have been on the spot more than the other councilman. Joe Citro would have been more on the spot. So if it's a tie, then you vote again. So because you have to expose those who really claim they for the Soul City versus the fake ones. That did not happen. Now, they put Lynn Hurtek in. Immediately, one of the things she do after she's sworn in is to hurry up and get a meeting with the police, the PBA. Why? Because they felt they were against her because she had previously stated as an ACLU lawyer that she was for defunding the police. Now, what she does, she meets with them and say, well, I went through all my social stuff and all. I'm going to take a second look at supporting, I'm against defunding the police department now. I'm going to take a look at, I'm against basically.
She starts to be a politician.
Well, what she did to show you how the vote was set up, right after she was selected, she made a public statement that says, hey, we're already in the process of running for re-election.
She has to, though. So listen,
but see, that's how you know the vote was set up.
This plays out in every community.
But it happens. I'm not. That's part of the process.
That is, and I'm happy that people around the country, get to. There's so many ways that you can participate politically and learn about how you influence stuff.
Well, let's do it.
And I think we are. I mean, I was very proud of the city of Tampa, and I think across the country, people are becoming more and more engaged, and hopefully you're picking up something off this show. Pete, what can we tell people to look forward to as we go into the next week?
When we go into next week, as these candidates start announcing,
coming out the woodwork, and you better come by and touch news and put something in.
Look, you know what I tell them? Hey, I look at your campaign expenditures. You don't spend money on black caterers. You don't spend money on black sign makers. You don't spend money on black media. And then when they do, they try to get the cheapest rate.
Well, we expect
No, we can't have that.
this is going to be an election. I'm going to call it the election of accountability.
And I'm gonna hold the black people that claim that they running
Why
their
you
campaign.
always so racial?
Well,
P?
because,
You're
see,
so racial.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Always black
I'm gonna
people,
give
black
you a good
people,
example.
black people.
When brothers and sisters claim that they're coordinating a white candidate's campaign, the reason why I hold them accountable, because the last thing they do after trying to line their own pocket, they don't think about supporting black business.
Talk about it. Hey, well, this time they will.
That's a personal opinion of mine. So
well, thank you for listening as always on Saturday morning. In-Text News Radio, Reality Radio. Everybody can be a star. We'll catch y'all next week.
Did I get a copy of the concert ticket that he had? All right. Yeah, we'll see you. Bye-bye.